Alright, hello YouTubers. Alright, so Cody did a Q&A the other day and it got me thinking and motivated to come out and make a video. So here we go. So one, I'm going to kind of talk about this property we're on and why I chose it, and some of the good things and some of the bad things about it. And then maybe I'll sit down and kind of explain how we got here in the first place. So the property I'm on, we rent, and after the first year, we will have an option to buy. We'll see how that works out. I'm in a rural area, and we technically rent about 5 acres, but that 5 acres is surrounded by about 40 acres that we have access to, and but we'll get to that here in just a little bit. So yeah, so one of the things about this house, and a large portion of why we came right into this, is my wife loved the place. It's proximity to her job, and just the log cabin aspect of it, which the house isn't actually a log cabin. It's a conventional house with log siding. Anyway, she loved it, so we stepped into it. A little bit more than we wanted to step into financially, but through some circumstances, it actually worked out just fine. But anyways, alright, so now you kind of looked at the house for a minute. I'll step up and kind of show you a couple of the other aspects of the house, or the property more or less. I probably won't go into the house. It's, you know, I don't know, kind of a mess in there and everything. It's not really true, but anyways, I'm not going to get into the inside of the house. Maybe I will one day. Anyways, let me take you up and show you a couple other things. Alright, so one of the structures that was already on the property is that little barn. Now, it is fine for what I need it for. I can get my truck in there, and I can park my wife's car in there. Not at the same time, but one at a time. If I need to work on the truck in the dry, I can. It's pretty muddy right now because it's mud season. But if I were to stay, that'd probably get torn down, and I'd put in a 3 or 4 bay in. But for right now, it's fine, and it's a nice place to park the motorcycle and keep some of the other stuff we have. Another thing talking about that, the house has a finished basement, or non-finished basement in it, which allows for a pretty good sized workroom, and will be used for other projects in the future. That snowplow is not mine. Somebody else is going to eventually come and get that. And then there's my truck. It's just where I started. That truck I bought a while back, and actually this year oh, I've put thousands of dollars into it. Drivetrain wise, and these are the types of things you got to think about. That truck was in okay shape till we started living out on a dirt road, and really driving a lot. And since I've owned it, I've replaced cooling system, entire gas tank and fuel system, all the 4-wheel drive actuation components, a lot of those things. I think we'll always keep that truck, but my intent is to hopefully buy a 3/4 ton sometime in the future. I will probably be buying a 4-wheeler this year to kind of help supplement the vehicle and uses around here. But when I get that, we'll talk about that. So anyways, there's the barn, pretty decent sized, and it's important as a little structure to be able to keep some things off. So yeah, I'll go around the edge of the house and show you the wood sheds. So the house that has originally had a wood stove in it, and they took the wood stove out and put in a baseboard heating system. Now I still have the physical wood stove, and sometime this summer will be installed. And I will not rely on wood this upcoming winter, but it'll probably supplement. There's a lot of logging around here, and come next spring I will have fresh wood brought in, and I'll buck and split it myself. Financially, it wasn't worth doing this year. The amount of money I would have spent on already seasoned wood, having it installed, the cost of the oil was less. When you get into a situation like that, these are the things you got to figure out. If you think you're going to heat your house by wood, you best already own it or know exactly how to get it. Now my hopes when I got this, or my hopes for a homestead property, was to be able to have wood on the premise that I would get. If we buy this property, that will not be the case, and I'll show you about that once we get a little further up. So I don't know if you can tell, that's the head of the well. There is a well on this property. It's where my water comes from, and it's a simple system that can easily be run off of a small generator. So As far as that goes, it's no problem. As far as the heat goes, a small generator could run the water and the heat for this house, and I'll set up a breaker box for that before the fall. So, you know, the immediate need of water is there, and I'll take you up to the pond and show you that and kind of talk a little bit more about that. Alright, so this is the edge of the pond. You can't really see, but right about there's a cutout, and it goes that direction and forms a brook that runs down the edge of this property, which is awesome. When the water's up, the brook is really running and is a joy from either one of the porches. You can see it. Anyways, this is a good sized pond. It's not huge, but certainly has plenty of water in it. Now, as best I can tell, this property has several natural springs in it, and one of them sits behind this pond, probably about where you can see that green tree back there. And so this fills from rainwater, obviously, and but does have spring that comes into it. And so whether it rains or not rains, there's always water in the brook, at least moving. It's not crazy, but it's moving. And there are large spots, and in fact here I'll kind of pan around to give you some idea where the house is. And the road going into this, there is clearly a spring, probably about right behind that brush pile, that seeps out. And to give you some idea, the proximity from the house, it's not far. So water's not a problem, okay? And as far as heating oil goes, they can get to the house. It's not so far from the road you can't get to it. So that wasn't a problem. Well, here I'll walk up and show you the biggest problem of the property. All right, so there's kind of that's towards the house and the pond. All right, so this is the problem with the property. About 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, it was clear cut, and I do mean clear cut. They basically came in and swapped it all through, which is, I don't know how they got away with it, because it's not legal to do this in this area, but they did it. And here it sits. Now, so obviously procuring wood from this property is a problem. Now you can see that power line, it actually forms a trail, but as you can see, pretty much toast. There's no wood here to be had. Now if I were to buy this property, because of the way New Hampshire is, I can actually get I can get trees pretty cheap from the agricultural department of the state, and I can bring in maples and apple trees and fruit trees, which are already fruit trees by the house, and potentially revive this area, but I definitely won't be getting lumber off of it. Now the direction that you're looking in, if things were to really go bad and I had to have lumber in that direction for several miles, is nothing but wilderness all the way into the White National Forest. So in a worst case scenario, I would have the ability to heat our home and hunt and do every other thing I'd ever need in a bad situation. But as far as owning this property, not being able to take wood off my own land is the downfall of this property. Now, because it is clear cut, it will be cheaper, and I could possibly get it at a better price, and that's a possibility. So these are the kind of things you got to think of when you do this, and whether that's worth it or not, I don't know. But we've got a year to make those decisions, and I've got a year to sell on this property to see how I feel about it in the end. But anyways, I'll go up to the house and kind of talk to you a little bit. Hold on.